Rightio then, that header there just stalled, probably because I've got so many pages open on my computer there. G'day everybody, so it's the 13th of April, Sunday. Hope you had a good weekend. It's just coming up to 6:30 here in the Sab d'Olonne. It's a nice day, hasn't been raining, but it's still overcast. And I've been working on some fun stuff. I always find it fun writing the notice of race and so on. So we've got quite a few people after me for the next Globe 580 Transat, which will be, in fact, I can tell you the start date. You're the first ones off the hoop. The start date will be out of Lagos on Sunday, the 1st of November. Is that right? Yeah. Well, maybe I pulled it back to Saturday. So that might be, no, it'll be the Saturday. I didn't want to start on a Sunday, so it'll be Saturday, the whatever it is, the last day of October in 26. And the restart will be from Marina Rubicon in Lanzarote, which is the official start date, will be the 14th, Saturday, the 14th of November in 26. So if you're planning to be there, get yourself organised. And if you're not actually doing the race and want to have a bit of fun and you're in Europe, it's actually not a bad place to hang out. If you're a builder or someone that's really interested in the 580, to spend a bit of time, spend a week in either Lanzarote or Lagos is actually a lot of fun. You'll meet the skippers, you'll see all over their boats, you chat to them, and if you're thinking about building it, it's very hands-on. And most people, because a few people come in and do that, and they walk away and they'll buy a set of plans and start building straight away because it's a bit of a buzz. There's something very unique about the 580 when you see the plans and you see the photos and all the videos and everything. It's all pretty cool. They're great boats. But when you see them in real life, it's like, holy dooly, it's a completely different situation. You really understand what it's about. They are completely unique. And I say time and time again that there's no other boat like it in the world. There's no other similar concept for a small plywood epoxy boat that you can build yourself, stick it in a container, and have a bit of fun. Go anywhere. And don't forget, in 2029, hang on, the mini globe race will start in 2029. So that's 29. That's in the beginning of the thing. Yeah, so it'll be, we're going to have a world championship, regatta in Fiji, Vuda Marina in 2029, which will be fantastic fun. People say it's bloody ridiculous, but imagine if you built your 580 in Europe somewhere, and you no intention to do the mini globe race, maybe not even the Transat. Well, you can save up some money and go and get yourself a container, or get a mate to put two in a 40-foot container, ship it out to Fiji ahead of time, and cruise around on your boat for 6 months or 5 months or 4 months or something in Fiji with your boat. And then when you're finished, put it back in the container and ship it home. A lot of fun. Going to be a lot of fun. You'll understand a bit more about that when you see what goes on with the stopover in Vuda. It's an amazing place, and we'll be there on our boat. Jane and I will be there on the boat, and so we'll be cruising around, sort of managing the race from our boat in Fiji and doing some of the close islands like the Asawas and the islands just only a few hours away from Vuda Marina. And that's where you'd be able to cruise and have fun on your 580 in Fiji. So stand by for that. It's quite an amazing place. We've spent a lot of time there, and it's very cool. Anyway, we're getting questions already. So I'm going to go straight to the tracker. There's a few things happened. Kerry had a bit of a drama last night, but I'll keep that for later, which is, if you're watching the tracker, you'll see you slowed down a bit, and I think that might be part of the issue. So, and at the same time as he's slowing down, Renaud's just rocketing away with a new daily recent high average. But anyway, let's get into the tracker. I'll put you on the tracker first. There we go. You should be on the tracker. Yep, you got the tracker. So now I go to my tracker, which is just there, and here we all are. So just pull that down so we get a bit more space. Put the wind up. And we'll put the equator on. so you can see what's going on, and I'll build up the big picture. And Gary's come down a bit. He's on the road now. That's kind of good. Josh will be feeling good about that because he's not the tail end Charlie or the sweet boat. And before we go any further into this, we should just check, because I haven't checked today. The position's changed. Nope. They're still in there, or if they haven't gone now, that from before, then I'd say they'll clear on the earliest they can go anyway, is clear on Monday and go on Monday. So hopefully soon, otherwise it'll be 3 weeks. They're 3 weeks behind, which is quite a lump. But anyway, they'll get going when they're organised. So here we all are. They've all got breeze, which is really nice. These guys here have got a bit of breeze, which could have been part of Kerry's problem last night. But anyway, Gary is doing 5.4 knots. Gee, he hadn't moved that fast for a while. 91-mile day, and he's absolutely on the program now. So he'll just slowly curve around, I reckon, follow the fleet, and pretty quickly probably be sitting alongside Josh. Josh is doing 5.2. That's not bad. He's done a 111-mile day. That's even better. So I had someone asking on messages on Messenger on the Facebook page, was Josh okay? He's been tailing back there. And I said, well, the reality is we don't speak to their manager every day, okay? And the entrant has to speak to their manager every day. And if their manager doesn't get the message from a day, they're supposed to tell us within 24 hours, and absolutely tell us within 48 hours, because if we haven't heard from a skipper for 48 hours, then it triggers a few special timelines on our overall management and communication of the event. So I hadn't heard from Josh's manager, so I was assuming everything's fine, and he's certainly sailing along in a straight line, so all was good. And picking up the pace, which is even better. Jasmine, 121-mile day. That's good. 4.9 knots at the moment. And is she catching up to the guys here? 121. Yes, she is. So she's caught up a little bit on Jacob. Jacob's crossed over behind Coconut there. But Jacob's only done 117 miles. So Jasmine managed to pick up about 4 miles. So that's okay. Coconut's doing 6 knots. So that's not bad. Adam, 5.7 knots and 115-mile day. You've all seen probably the little video about his mount, which is cracked on his South Atlantic wind vane. The wind vane side of it has nothing to do with the mount. That's the strange bit. It's a pipe and a solid lump of aluminium, like a rod, a big lump of it goes into that tube, and that bolt on the top of it is just a locating bolt to stop it sliding back. Even if the bolt came undone, it's not necessarily going to slide out. But anyway, it's still not good to have that movement, and they've got a few ideas passing around on how to solve that. There's still a couple of thousand miles from Marquises. You should be able to get it sorted in Marquises, but let's wait and see how it goes. Looking after your wind vane and keeping up with all this stuff is really vital. So, but when something fails, there's not a lot you can do about it. It's not meant to fail, obviously. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, Adam is doing 5.7, 115-mile day. So Jasmine took out a couple of miles on Adam. And Christian, 5.5 knots, 127-mile day. He's doing okay in that. And then Ayrton, managing to keep up, which is kind of good. Not very fast at the moment, 4.4 and 109-mile day. So that's okay. 127 for Eric. So Eric's passing Ayrton for sure, doing 5.6, nearly a whole knot faster, which is fine. Dan, Canadan, 4.7 knots, 127. So they're slowed down a bit at the moment and doing 177. That's healthy. I think part of the reason some of them are slowing down because the sea's picked up. I'll show you in a minute, but it's probably it can be 3.5, even up to 4 meters at the moment. There's quite a bit of breeze there. The sea is actually not quite matching the graphic here. Well, sort of. There's probably 25, 28 knots here in this little bit of yellow, just by Kerry. He got hammered last night. I'll tell you in a sec. But when you look at the sea state, which we'll go to in a minute, you can see that they've got a good 3 to 4 meter sea running. And there was someone else last night. Was it Adam? Might have been running off with it, and I think someone else was as well. Just to keep it on the quarter. I think it might have been I thought it was. That's Kerry. Oh, it was. Hang on, I'll put the track in. It was Peeler. Oh, wrong one. You can't see her track. You can't see it very well, but she was actually running away with it like yesterday, last night our time, and I think it might have been because the sea and the wind was picking up. But anyway, that's how it works. So Dan Turk, 127 mile day, not too bad. Peeler 125, so he's catching up on Peeler a little bit. 5.7 knots. That's not bad. Not bad. Dan doing 5.8 knots. Big Chinese jibe. And for those of you that don't know how that works, if you're running with your spinnaker, who knows which one he had up, and the main is out on one tack, and we'd have to assume he's on port tack because the wind's coming over the port side with the spinnaker going, but then they round up, so it starts to round, the boat goes down, starts to round up, and then overcompensates, and it screws the other way, so you're now steering more downwind, and the wind gets behind the main and completely jibes across, and the spinnaker turns inside out and lays the boat down, and the boat can turn around and be facing right the other way. He's no reports on damage to the boat, but he lost his Starlink. His mini Starlink antenna's gone. So, we'll wait for the story, but he's back to his satellite phone now, which is a phone that I lent him because he trashed his last phones on the last leg with that 600 litres coming in. So he has no Starlink anymore, which is sad because he was doing some good videos. We haven't heard the other bits. That was the main one that Sid wanted to get to us. And he's still sailing on, but he slowed down dramatically in the last 8 hours. Okay, he was right up there before. Still took a little bit out of Renaud, but then look at Renaud. Hang on. New recent top speed, 152. I think that was worth a honk. 152 mile day, doing 6.5 knots. Now, every time I come, I don't look at the tracker every 4 hours, but I had a look. When was I looking? Last night and maybe early this morning, and I just thought Renaud was just flying. He was, 0.3 of a knot, half a knot faster than anything else on the water. So he is driving hard, but at the same time, if you asked him, he'd be sitting back and just, I'm just plodding along, because he's totally under control. So very relaxed at what he's doing, but he's hard to catch. So Kerry's lost a bit of ground. Renaud's just streaming away. That's pretty impressive because it's happening. We're getting high averages now. 140, 150, all that sort of stuff. With a few, Holiday Dan's doing pretty well in that department as well. Kerry's been doing the same, and the breeze, I would say, it's 15 to 20 knots, maybe gusting 25. So good speeds. Well, let's have a look at the current to see if there's anything happening there. Well then it's not slowing anyone down when you look at that. That's a pretty healthy current. That's half a knot there for sure, wherever Renaud is. And same with Kerry. It could be a bit patchy, but yeah, there's a fair bit of current, and there's a fair bit of current here too. So that's pretty impressive. Is it going to hold? There we go for a day. There's another day. Yep, it's going to push him along a bit. Jeepers, Gary's going to get a bit of a blinder up there in a couple of days, if this is true. So, yep, Gary and Josh should start screaming along if you look at that. The others are all getting a boost, so it is high averages. That helps them because half a knot's 12 miles a day. So you can see what happens. We were going to look at the waves. Here we go. Okay. Well, it's backed off a little bit. It was more intense than that this morning. You can see here, this is in your 3 to 4 meter range. When you get this purple, it's sort of 4 meters. So there's a bit of a chunk there. I'll push that through in the next couple of days and see what happens. Fortunately, the wind is generally it's soft. Well, it's suggesting 3 meters, 3.5 for a few days. There's the 15th. It's all holding there. So they're well and truly in the trades. This is solid trade material here. So they've got strong, reliable trades as we as we saw yesterday. Anyway, so that's okay. Now we just want to look at a couple of days worth of wind. Here we are, we're back into the wind. So I might just, oh no, I'll leave it at this scale. You'll know where they are and what they're doing. So we're back to the original. I've just got to hit that circle there. And plenty of breeze. Here we go. This is by this time tomorrow. There's still a touch of yellow coming through there over the leaders. And even the back end tail enders, they've got breeze. So there's the 15th. So there's a couple of days. All is good. Make fast time. I won't call it getting boring because you never know what's going to happen. Whenever I get a what I call an unscheduled bing, it's on a WhatsApp that comes from a manager. It's not quite as bad as the GGR, but you hold your breath a bit. So, oh, what's happening now? So but all seems to be going pretty well. Let's have a look here. Did we get just as the finish? We get the last. 2,114 miles, and Kerry has done 1,995. So, but he's not that. If you subtract one from the other, he's not that far behind him. But anyway, they're doing okay, and yeah, I find it at the moment. Hang on, Dan Turk, what's going on there? I thought Dan's timing was okay. Dan Turk, 1,200. Oh, he's a bit behind. So there you go. He'll be 4 hours in front of that. And Ayrton's down a bit too. I'm not sure why, but it's just a glitch in the system. It'll sort itself out for the next one. So not too concerned about that, but it will progress Dan and Ayrton in the picture there. So they're probably going to sneak a bit ahead of Eric. So everyone else is okay though. Anyway, yeah, it's not that useful for the finish, but I'll come back another way and do this when that gets out of the way. Rightio, get rid of that. We will shrink this down, and I'll use my ruler to show you where marquises are and just step it out to give you an impression. There they are there. They're still going to come down a bit. You'll see marquises are on 10 degrees. So they're up a little bit at the moment. They'll angle down slowly and go there. It was definitely the best track, coming down underneath Galapagos and around rather than over the northern route. Sometimes that's a possibility, but because this will be a low yielding trade winds, whereas sometimes the northeasterlies up here are pumping. But anyway, they've all done the right thing from there, and I'm wondering, we'll have to wait and see what happens to Popeye and John later on. So the distance from Renaud roughly to Nukuhiva is 1,850 miles. So 10 days at 120, that would leave 600, and that's like another 4 days, 14 days, a couple of weeks. Renaud could be there in a couple of weeks, and the others shortly thereafter. So generally, they're making really good time, and we could express that the other way. If they were saying that Renaud had sailed 2,000 miles. Let's just see. That averages out. Yeah, it's about right. So that's in a direct sense. They've sailed actually more than that. So there you go. All right, I think that's about as much as I can give you there. Now I'll come back here and move that over there. Hit that, and I should pop up. There we are. Yes. So that's pretty much it. Sorry to hear about another message here from someone else. Sorry to hear about Kerry, but I bet you there's stuff going on board, and I can't wait to see reports. It comes into daylight now. During our daylight here, it's sort of night time for them. So I always tend to see reports coming up just from the entrance on their social media, just after I get off of here. I had a quick scan before I got on, but I didn't see anything that was really big there. But nonetheless, it also raised an interesting point. As I said, I was doing the notice of race for the Transat, and normally the Transat is isolated. It's you're not allowed to have you're not allowed to talk to anyone. You've got to have your satellite phone on board, but you can't ring your manager, you can't ring anybody. The idea is to isolate the skipper, and that's the way we would run the normal Transat, which is the end of next year. So everything changes. And then when we do the Transat, the next one after that, which is the feeder for the MR, and we may make that mandatory that everyone has to do the preceding Transat for those that are going to do the mini globe race. We may make that compulsory. And that would then allow in that Transat to have everything open. So they can do exactly the same as they're doing in the MGR, like talk to family and friends and have Starlink and all that sort of stuff on it. Because that's checking systems, make sure it works and get in the swing of things. But now I've got to make the decision, do I want to do that for the next Transat? My first reaction is I don't want to do that, because the original concept of the Transat is to seek a bit of that isolation so that you're not talking to people. It's only for a month. And it does you good to get out there and not get involved with all that. So you switch off a bit. Makes it a lot more work for us. And I think the entrants would prefer to have access to all the other rhubarb. But that changes a bit of the ethos of the Transat, the way it always works. Even the Class Mini 650s, they don't allow all the... You don't have live feeds, and you don't do that. You can't talk to anyone on your sat phone except for race organisers, and you're not allowed to have HF radios. You basically isolate. You get a VHF, that's it, and that's the tradition. It's been like that from the very beginning in the 70s when the first Bob Salmon Transats were taking place. So I'm thinking about that at the moment. Whether to let them have fun with their comms or whether to go back to the restrictions. Because basically, unbeknown to me, and I've mentioned this before, but some of you might not have heard it, in the previous edition of the Transat in 2003, when Lutz was running it, because we were very busy with the Ocean Globe race, all the entrants broke all the rules. They just threw the notice of race out the window, saying, "Oh, bugger, I'm going to ring home," and blah, blah, blah. And I've since found out virtually all of them. I mean, there was only 4 or 5, but nonetheless, they completely disregarded the rules, which is fine because they all had fun. Anyway, I digress, but it's Sunday. So that's enough of that. I'll come back here and say good day to everybody and then get out of here. Hooly dooly. Jeepers, not many people say that. I do. Good day, Blort. Pete, hi, Don. Thanks for the catch-ups. No problem. Question, is Dyneema not allowed as standing rigging? If so, why? No, it's not allowed as standing rigging. And why? Because it's a one design class, so we don't want to go down that track that allows everyone to do their own fittings and bits and pieces. So composite rigging is a good thing. It's not a problem. But it's too complicated for people that, a lot of the original, some of the people building 580s and all the rest of it, they haven't sailed much. They haven't built any. They've never built a boat before. They've never been involved with a sailor. And it's a one design class. So if it means everyone's got the same wire rigging, which is really simple, you can just pay a rigger to do it all. You don't have to think about it. That's fine, because it's not the fastest 580 in the world. I say that a lot as well. You could easily build and design a faster 580, right? And so, yes, there's some maintenance advantages to composite rigging and all that sort of stuff, but not everyone's got that level of expertise. So we just keep it an even playing field and say it's standard, traditional Dyneema. Not Dyneema, Diform wire, and leave it at that. It's very simple. Hi, Nigel. Good to see you tune in from the UK. I believe the sun's shining every now and then over there now, because one of the OGR boats is getting ready to relaunch their boat. So we've got to start repairing Explorer soon. Jeepers, that's going to be fun for the next OGR. Brian, so glad Gary has escaped the grip of the north side of the island. Yeah, absolutely. He's not in that bad a position. He left a bit late and all that stuff, but he's looking all right. Rachel, do you know how everyone's food supply is going? It's going just fine. There's no one reporting lack of food. I think everyone overcompensates for always the risk something might happen and you're going to sail real slow to get to the finish line, sort of thing. But no, at the moment, everyone will be doing fine. They've only been out for not even 3 weeks, coming up to 3 weeks now, and they're only a couple of weeks away. So it's touch wood so far. It's been a very fast trip. yeah, they're sailing really well. The boats are cool. There's as I've said before, small boats have an advantage over big boats. They can keep them going. So interesting that all the equator crossings I've seen, the sailor offers a drink to Neptune, has one themselves, but doesn't give one to the boat. It's an interesting point because not everyone did, but some of them did. And I always look at that as being, oh, jeepers, you got to be careful. It's meant to be Neptune, the boat, and then you. But I saw quite a few giving the boat a toast as well. So yes, but superstition is only as strong as the person's mind. And I'm very strong on a few things, but other things I don't worry about it. Like changing the name of the boat, I do it, but some people will never do it. Okay, Christine. Okay, that's it. So thanks, everybody. I'll reserve my rights on future trackers on this one now. We've sort of been doing every day, and if I can, I will. But if something comes up, because it's going to be getting very busy now as well. I'll certainly be here if something's happening, so don't stress. And this is the preferred time. Works out really well after the 1600, or sometime after the 1600 position report. Okay, I'm having trouble getting out of here sometimes, so let's see if that works and turn it on.
Witness history in the making. The McIntyre Mini Globe Race 2025. Small boat, huge adventure.